start recording. Alrighty, we are good to go. Can you see me? Well, first question is, can you hear me okay? Because I'm using a different microphone today, and I'm just wondering which one gives the better quality, this one or the headset I'm usually using. So is this, nice and clear and not too much hiss? You can hear me very well. Excellent. Good. Cool. Yeah, it is recording. You can see my screen. This is all brilliant. All right, let's go in then. All right, the idea for this is confusion to clarity. A lot of people, and all right, just to pre-frame this, this is going to be short, sweet, to the point, because although a lot of people are confused, the answer is actually relatively straightforward. The implementation of that answer might be a little bit more complicated, but really there is one simple answer of how to get out of confusion, how to get to clarity very, very quickly. Incidentally, Andy, you obviously will recognize, actually this is my test here. Andy, in what quadrant would you be if you are attending this particular online training, Confusion to Clarity? Drum roll, Andy, the spotlight is on you. From a single shift, which one is where you go from confusion to clarity? I think Andy has disappeared from the planet. I had to go to the loo. Okay, cool. All right, Andy, my question was, in what quadrant, looking at the single shift, what quadrant would you be in if you're attending a confusion to clarity training or online training call? The top left. No, not quadrant 1. Did I call that quadrant 1? No. It's quadrant 3, where basically you are confused and you want some clarity on where you want to go. Alright, in case you haven't, anyone who hasn't seen the single shift, is basically my way of segmenting the buying cycle, where people are when they want to buy from you. And some people are in a position where basically they know already what it is they want. They have complete clarity of where they want to go, and now they need to decide whether what you've got is the right thing for them. And the best way of demonstrating that is by basically illustrating to them that you completely and utterly understand their problem. So rather than hit them over the head with all kinds of, here's why you must buy my stuff, you go in and you demonstrate a crystal clear understanding of their problem. And once they see that someone really understands the problem, then the likelihood that they also understand the solution are, of course, much higher. So that is one of the best ways of getting someone to buy from you. Make them buy. Quadrant 3, on the other hand, is where people are confused. And a lot of people who go online are confused about all these options out there. And we can look at this here. What's wrong with all the stuff here. Anyway, let's dive in then. And let's have a look what's wrong, and then within 20 minutes you will have the answer. Usually when I say 20 it's at least 30, but let's try to go as fast as we can. So what is wrong? That is basically, there's a lot of confusion. What is the right thing for me to do? I have talked to so many people personally and over Skype and over the telephone, via email, via forum exchanges, Skype exchanges, etc. And I've been there myself. In the beginning, my first course I ever bought was from a German gentleman who probably falls into the category scam artist, hence I'm not going to name his name. And so in his report, all it said was, hey, all you need is a website and you can make lots of money online. And then there was an upsell for a DVD set. So I bought the DVD set, and it was launch style. It was evergreen launch style. And this is 8 years ago. And so I bought the DVD set, which was basically, once again, blah, 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 blah. No real substance. It was all sort of more motivational stuff. You can do it. You can do it. And look at all these other people who can do it. Doesn't that sound familiar? All these other people who allegedly, apparently, make a ton of money. And then I checked online because I thought, just spend 300 euros on a DVD set, and turns out tons of people are trying to flog these things for 6 euros on eBay. Simply because it was an evergreen launch. So I learned something about launches there, to the tune of 295 euros. But there you go. Anyway, I've been there, and I see so many people these days confused of all the options, which ones is the right? What is the way of moving forward? Just too many options. And the end result of all of this, with all these options, is you start one thing, and you're subconsciously or at the back of your mind thinking, well, is this actually going to work? Because so many other things don't work or haven't worked out. And because you're kind of slightly worried if this one is going to work, something else comes along. Someone tells you, oh, you need to try this. I mean, at the moment, it's like totally, you have to do Facebook, you have to do social media, you have to do, suddenly Pinterest. I don't know what happened to Pinterest, but for a little while it was all Pinterest. A little while before that it was all LinkedIn. So there's always something new. And as a result, you get torn from one thing to another. So what we're going to do today is basically look at a better way of doing this. But rather than be presumptuous and assume that you have exactly this confusion and you are suffering from too many options and all that kind of thing, let me tell you about my own personal discovery, or journey, if you like, and I'll keep this short. I don't know how best to describe this, but when I got started, actually, I was unlucky in a way. So the first thing I did, I bought this course from a German gentleman, then found out he's actually scamming people. Then I bought Product Launch Formula, which I could not afford. It's just like, it's ridiculous. I had no need for it. But it's once again a very important lesson, that namely, if you target your right audience who has a pain point, as in, I want to do this thing, but I have no idea how, you can sell even a $2,000 package like Product Launch Formula. So launches to the right target audience do work. That's a no. When did I start? Approximately about 8 years ago. What happened then afterwards is I basically went in and ignored everything everyone was saying. It's like, you must build a list, blah, 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 blah. I just went in, right, I've heard this affiliate marketing thing is happening. And so I created some hub pages and Squidoo lenses. And now I wish I'd taken screenshots because they were, well, they were like, affiliate spam. And still, I made $600 on the first sale. Basically, someone bought, what's it called? Formula 5 by Mr. Lemberg. He was back then associated with Stompernet, and they did a joint venture. They kind of launched his product through them, and it was a $2,000 product. I created some reviews on YouTube, and of course I didn't track anything, so I have no idea where that sale come from. Anyway, made some money and thought, okay, brilliant, this is it. I'm all set. All I need to do now is continue doing that, and I'll do 5 of those per month, and there you go. My normal job is replaced. And before you know it, I was in that shit feeling every single day. At the end of the day, it was like, crap, once again, I've dabbled, I've done a little bit of this, done that, and I had no certainty that that was going to be useful or was going to do anything, or there was no guarantee that it was going to get any better or be a step in the right direction. And there's one thing I remember, my mind telling me tomorrow is going to be different. I wake up all motivated in the morning, and then come the evening, I'll be like, frig, once again, I haven't really achieved anything. And the stupid thing now is that sense of moving in the right direction, isn't it? It's this massive uncertainty. And fear not, I'm going to show you a great model where that certainty is there, and it doesn't cost you anything. You can do it all by yourself. But that's what I had. I had this didn't do anything all day and massive frustration, and of course no great income either. So that was me. Of course, I was spending far more than I was making. Even if I take my biggest affiliate income at that time, $600 and the $2,000 for Product Launch Formula, there goes my ratio of income to outgoing. And this only changed when I had a oh wow, look at this moment. Clearly the little feet here are in the wrong place. Let's fix that straight away. Oh, here we go. Oh, look at this. I used to call this stuff works moment, but someone today told me don't swear on webinars, so I shan't. And I'll say, oh wow, look at this moment. So seriously, it all changed when I suddenly saw with my own eyes that this stuff actually works. That is probably the most important thing. And the beauty of all of this is that the moment you've got that and you've got a little basis on which to build, the whole feeling and tomorrow is going to be different goes away, because you're now focusing your energy on just this one thing. You suddenly have certainty. You suddenly know it really works. It doesn't just work for other people, it works for you. So what I'm going to do with you today, I'm going to show you probably the only model you'll ever need to know for doing all of this. And it answers indirectly the whole confusion. So if you're asking yourself at the moment, do I need to do whatever offline? Do I need to do online? Do I need to do affiliate marketing? Do I need to create my own product? All that kind of thing. All that's going to go away once you've got that own model. Anyway, let's have a quick look at questions here. When that's not how most of us think of it. Jillian, expand on that, please, because I don't know when you typed that. So I'd like to know what you mean by that and to which point this kind of is related. That's not how most of us. This stuff works. Okay, let me. Okay, this stuff works exactly. Oh wow, look at this. Exactly. At the moment, wow. Here's my understanding of what you're saying there. At the moment, the majority of people don't truly believe or truly know at the bottom of their heart that this stuff works. Let me ask you a question then. What difference would it make to you if you had one of those little successes where you went, wow, this stuff works? In front of your own eyes, now you get it. Would that make all the difference? And Jillian, how's it going? Maybe. All right, if it's only maybe, what do you think then, Jillian, would make the biggest difference? What would it take for you to truly believe you're doing the right thing, you're aiming in the right direction, you've made the right choice, and even if there are obstacles, because there will be obstacles. I mean, obstacles are part of this whole thing, and obstacles are part of life. So, obstacles we need to deal with. The big problem is if you don't know in what direction to point, and there are obstacles, you have no idea whether it's a good investment of your time and energy or whether it's a waste of time. So, Jillian, the question to you then is, what would it take? At what point would you go, right, now I'm willing to start overcoming these obstacles because I know I'm pointing in the right direction. I'm doing the right thing. And whilst you're thinking about it, I'll tell you a little story. A big enough win. Exactly. So, alrighty, cool. That is important, all right? To me, it was the, oh, wow, look at this. This stuff works. That, for me, was the big win. So, Jillian, you have to define for yourself what a big enough win is. What it is you need to see to go, boom, yeah, this stuff works. I'm doing the right thing. So if until you've nailed what a big enough win is, actually, I tell you what, and now we're, of course, in grave danger of blowing the 20-minute time frame. The big problem with what I see with all the courses, look, all the courses are presented by sales letters, okay? I'm simplifying now, but everything you've got out there basically has a sales letter on it, and all of those make a promise. That's the job of a sales letter or of sales in general. So you make a promise. Now, especially in the industry we're in internet marketing, make money online, business opportunity, whatever you want to call it, there is usually the big promise at the end. At the end of this journey, you will make 6 figures or 7 figures or have the yacht or, all this kind of, you will have passive income, whatever your thing is. What everyone keeps overlooking is that the real wins happen along the way. The real win is actually learning how to do the stuff properly, and every single step is a win. Until you get to the point, and this is, not me talking and this is not my opinion. Every single marketer I know who wins on a regular basis are the ones who say, look, forget about the big outcome. It is the small baby steps. And I celebrate the baby steps. And even if there's a setback, it's not really a setback. It's a learning. It's a learning opportunity. I learn from it. And, the first time I got a refund request, it's like, how the heck, why? How do they care? How do they dare? I put so much effort into this. It's a setback. You just go, and you deep down, you feel, wow, it's a personal thing, and I just want to, bury my head under the pillow. But then you learn from it and go, well, in this case, or in general, there are some people who will refund no matter what. Fine, you live with it. So the biggest thing I can give you right on this slide, and then we're going to dive back straight back in, is with all your goal setting, forget about the idea of replacing your job or making the $100 a day or whatever it is. All these outcomes that are being promised in sales letters. Forget about all of those and instead focus on the path and celebrate your progress. That will get you to your goal much, much quicker than anything else. So, when you say a big enough win, be careful you don't fall into that trap to say, well, a big enough win would be if I make $1,000 a day on a regular basis, at least once every week or so. That is fraught with danger, namely, false expectations, and because you're focusing on this big outcome and there's so many ways for getting there, once again, you're pointing in too many directions and all these obstacles that pop up, you go, well, is it worth overcoming them? Norma says, evil copywriters use future pacing to get you to see yourself at the point of success. Of course they do. That's what I said. Yeah, 100% agree with you, Norma. That is the job of copywriting. That is the job of selling, to get people to the point where they see it. But when you set your own goals, you have to take a different approach. You can't go. The whole personal development industry is based on you coming in and then they tell you you're not thinking big enough. Just think bigger, and your brain goes, wow, this is awesome. Dopamine, yay, brilliant. And then you love it and you go home and nothing ever changes. So the entire personal development industry is based on basically, giant promises, good chemistry in your head. And then when you don't succeed, well, you clearly didn't have it or you didn't take massive enough action. So very, very important. When you go and set your big enough win, it has to be focused on the journey. Alrighty. Oh yes, the big ass promise. The big bottom promise. Exactly. No more swearing on my calls. Alrighty. You should. You have a couple of shoulds. Alrighty. And they can contribute massively to this whole confusion. So you need to build a list. Well, the question is why and how. And then some people say, well, you don't need to build a list. You just you throw some AdSense sites and drive traffic to it, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You need to build a list. When you buy into that belief, then suddenly everything that says, hey, here's the secret to list building will look appealing. And as a result, add to your confusion. And you need to create a sales funnel. Why? Well, let me ask you why. Why do you need to do this? Surely, there are all these people who make tons of money with just AdSense. They don't need a sales funnel. And, once you've heard it often enough, everything that looks like making a sales funnel will look appealing. So, more confusion there. And the question is, how do you do it? Well, there are so many different ways for creating a sales funnel. More confusion. You have to do SEO. And, by the way, don't do SEO. Unless, and I'll show you in a second, you've got something else in place. You need to find low competition, untapped niches. Well, first of all, why? Well, because there's no competition. But how do you actually do it? Everyone is struggling with this bloody market research. You need to drive traffic. Let's face it, you can't drive traffic. Traffic is full stop. And you can go in there and hold up a sign saying, I've got something cool. Do you want to come and have a look? You can divert traffic, but you can't drive traffic. But it's probably the most popular. I had a look at the top, 1,000 or so WSOs, little products that sell on the Warrior Forum. And by far, the number one is SEO, closely followed by traffic. There you go. It's all about traffic. Everyone wants to drive traffic. Everyone wants to get tons of traffic. And then finally, you get traffic to your site, and it doesn't convert. It's like, okay, great. But everyone tells you need to drive traffic. Traffic is the lifeblood of business. And because there's so many different ways of driving traffic, of course, confusion. You need to do social media, of course. Pinterest comes out. You need to do Pinterest. It's the fastest growing of all of them. How can you possibly miss out on that? You need to build empires. Well, you build one site, but then it's super simple, and you build out 100, and then because they each make $10, but 100 times 10 is $1,000 a day. Yay! You need to do auto content, all this kind of stuff. So here's all the stuff you should be doing. Now, most of this, especially the lower half of all of this, is based on one big thing, namely the more of what's already not working conundrum. What I mean by that is, you go in and you take some of the techniques people tell you to do, and then it's not working out. Like, for example, you look at traffic. Now, you buy a Facebook traffic course, and yeehaw, you get 1 cent clicks. And oh, I didn't include that screenshot here. There was a conversation on Facebook. I had a look at it and just, could only shake my head. Some guy goes, well, I followed your advice. It was basically some other guru in quotes, on Facebook. Followed your advice, and I'm getting 1 cent clicks. And now I'm going to scale it up to get even more 1 cent clicks. And then I'm going to figure out how to convert it into money. And I'm thinking, all right, okay. So in general, what's going on is a lot of people are doing something and it's not getting them the results they want to get. And then the gurus and the sales just go out, well, what you need is more traffic. You need more people seeing your offer, because then statistically speaking, at some point you will start making money. But of course, because your target audience is being exposed to more ads, they're responding even less. So the worst thing you can do is basically look at something that's already not working for you and then do more of it, simply to overcome that, that evil thing that, oh, look, it's not working out for me, I'll just do more of it. And by the way, if you're thinking this is unique to online marketing, it's not. You see this everywhere in business. Like, in offline business, I do a lot of offline consulting. They put ads in the newspaper, and then they're not working. And what is the advice they get? Well, you need to have a bigger ad. You need to have a multicolored ad. You need to have like the insert. You need to have the sticky on thing on the front of the paper. You need to reach more people. You need to have the bigger surrounding areas of your town, not just the center. Do more of what clearly already isn't working. And that is at the heart of confusion, and it's also the heart of the solution. So let's look at that. And the solution, and this is where you go, this is seriously, if you're confused about which direction to go into, whether it's actually, if you, whilst I grab my cup of tea, which is right next to me, if you can type into the chat box, what is the one thing, or the top 2 things where you are confused at the moment, where you're thinking, I think I should be going in that direction, but look at all these obstacles. I don't know if it's the right thing. What is the one thing that comes to mind? And I'll use that opportunity to have a little sip of my tasty chamomile tea. Come on. How best to approach prospects? Okay, Sue, how best to approach prospects? That's a very, very wide thing, isn't it? If you look at offline, the #1 best-selling type of product is how to get leads, which incidentally is also the #1 best-selling product you can sell to offline businesses. How to best approach prospects? The simple answer is, of course, to build relationships. It's the one thing I keep seeing over and over again. I mean, think about politicians, okay? They are backhanders. There is, oh yeah, you've helped me here, I help you there, which incidentally led to a really bizarre situation over here in Europe, namely that when the EU was set up, they had, set up the European Parliament. And what quickly happened is that basically all the politicians who were no longer fit to be really in power in their own country, but they'd served for such a long time, they were now being pushed to the European Parliament, meaning, and I hope no one who sits in the European Parliament listens to this, but there is a lot of incompetence. There are a lot of people who basically, they have to be honored and they have to be in a position of where you go, oh, thank you for your service, and they're now given this sort of strange job in Europe, which is silly because they run a lot of what we do in Europe. Anyway, so how to best approach prospects? The best thing to do is basically build relationships. That is the #1 thing. But really underlying all of this is, why do you want more leads? That is already, look about it this year, more of what's already not working. If already you're getting leads and it's not working out for you, then approaching more prospects is probably not the answer. So let's see what Norma says. How to get clients outside the I am niche because they don't mind actually paying good money for copy. Okay, that's a good approach, right? That's because you're saying, well, what's clearly not working for me at the moment is finding clients in the I am niche. So now I want to find clients outside the I am niche. Well, first thing is Norma, get in touch with me because I know quite a few of the people who do the big ClickBank launches, and they, well, now they've moved on, but the bigger things, and they may, if they see good talent, may just have a job for you. So that's the thing. So this is a better approach, how to get clients outside the I am niche. But in general, let's look at this here. And this is, Norma, you can apply this immediately. Sue, you can apply this immediately. What you want to do is develop profitable marketing systems. This is the answer to, this is the answer to all confusion. Once you've got this in place, it doesn't matter whether you do online, offline, whether you do affiliate marketing, your own product, whether you are a joint venture broker, whether you are doing AdSense, whatever you want to do, okay? The only thing I need to say is, obviously, I'm going to have to change the name of this thing because the acronym is PMS, which is slightly suboptimal. So anyway, definition of profitable is that you get more dollars out than you put dollars in, or at least you break even at some point. All right. So forget about everything you've been taught. Forget about the fact that you have to do social media, the fact that you have to create a sales funnel, the fact you have to build a list, the fact you have to have landing pages, all that kind of stuff, keyword research, blah, blah, blah. We don't care. The only job as a marketer, as a business owner, is to have something where it's almost like a black box. You put $1 in and you get more than $1 out. And I'll give you that kind of, you may have heard it and that may be a little bit theoretical, but the best way to illustrate it is probably to look at Facebook. With Facebook, I can tell them to take money out of my PayPal account. And I can now put ads onto Facebook that drive people who click on my ads to an offer that pays directly into my PayPal account. So the idea is to set up a system with a bit of testing and tweaking. I'll show you a couple of examples in a minute, where whenever you put an ad in, and the beauty with Facebook is you basically put your ads in, they approve them, and then they start showing. And it's only, sometimes it's very quick, sometimes it's like with a couple of days they charge you, but sometimes it's like a week later. So you now have a week to make money off the ads they've shown. And if you've got a profitable marketing system, then by the time you get charged, you've had more money coming from your sales into your PayPal account. And once you've got that in place, you can let this run on autopilot. You will crank up your marketing budget or your daily budget on Facebook as high as you can. You will want to buy as much traffic as you can. The reason I'm saying this, and I keep going on and on about this, is because when I got started, I fell into this deadly trap of thinking I can't afford to buy traffic. It's too complicated. I might lose my shirt. It's too expensive. I'm going to have to spend all this money and see no return. There's no guarantee, all that kind of thing. Instead, I focused on bloody SEO. Oh, I'm sorry, I used a swear word. Well, I'll learn, okay? I did focus on SEO, and it was a massive waste of time, and it took me so long to get to that point where I go, I finally get it. I can see, like, oh look, money's going out and more money is flowing into my PayPal account. Why didn't someone force me to do this years ago? So if there is one takeaway, it is forget about the notion of using SEO, forget about the notion of getting freebie traffic and all that kind of stuff. The moment you've got something where you can put paid traffic in, something that you can replicate, once you figure out how it works and that it works, you can drive more and more and more to the point where basically you want to buy all the traffic there is. Profitable marketing systems work at 4 levels, namely the first one, which is not APMS, and that is typically one-off promos, or you have limited capacity traffic. So to give you an example, if you set up a little marketing system that is tuned to someone else's solar ad, list. So someone has a solo ad and they sell, basically a mailing to their list. Now they send the traffic to your little sales funnel. Let's call it a sales funnel. You've got a squeeze page and then you're making them offer, something like that. Now, it'll take you a little while, and this is a harsh reality of life, okay? It'll take you a little while to actually make this thing profitable, which is incidentally why so many people struggle with SEO, because they think now they've got traffic and that's that, okay? They never sit down and try to make it profitable. And because you started with the wrong end of the stick, you started with traffic as opposed to finding out if it's buying traffic, it's very, very hard to make SEO traffic or general SEO traffic profitable. So with all of this, it'll take you a little while to make this thing profitable, and because a solo ad typically only has a few hundred, maybe a few thousand clicks, by the time you've made your system, your marketing system profitable, they're out of capacity. They can't send you any more. So you're done. The same goes when you've got your own list. People go, well, I'll do some testing and tweaking, and then once you've mailed your list, because your list, when you've got a good relationship, will generally be more receptive to your message. Well, now you've done some testing, but it's kind of tuned to your particular list and your relationship to the list. Now you can't go away and say, right, this works, I'm going to plug in Facebook traffic. Okay, that's not going to work. So when you've got that, that's not a PMS. And the same goes, one-off promos where you, for example, you do a typical launch. You go to a forum and you get some JV partners, or you have a self-hosted page, and you do a one-off promo. That's not a profitable marketing system. That is a promo. And once again, I keep seeing this in our industry. People going, you just need to create a product, get some JV partners, do massive promo, and life will be good. Well, it's not. It is awesome whilst you make that money, and then you've got that whole thing's like, and now what? Now you're back to it still doesn't work. You need to get to the big win, to use Gillian's words, or you need to get to the point where you go, this stuff works, where you suddenly realize you're much better off having one central product. And when I say product, it doesn't have to be your own. A product doesn't have to be something you sell. It doesn't have to be virtual. It could be physical. But it could be as simple. A product could be a squeeze page or your list or whatever. The product could be your relationship with an audience. It could be your status on someone else's website. That could be a product, but you kind of need to have a central thing and then start building a marketing system around it. Alrighty, so that is level number 0, if you like, or -1, not a PMS. One-off promos, limited capacity traffic, forget about it. Please don't go there. And I can only almost beg you not to go there, because I've been there and been there for far too long, and it's been a waste of my life to be stuck there. Okay, I kept looking at all these guys like Mike Hill is driving millions of dollars with media buys. Well, the guy wasn't born with millions of dollars in his nappies. He just basically went out and was like, okay, let's take a little bit of money, let's do a little bit of testing. Oh, look, this works, this doesn't work, get feedback from the market and build it up over time. Perry Marshall, same thing. It's like, okay, let me focus on this one thing, pay-per-click on Google, and let's work it up. And now he's slowly switching over to Facebook. There you go. So a good PMS then, on the other hand, is something that is compatible with one traffic source. So, for example, if you say, well, I've got this thing and I've kind of optimized it for Google search engine traffic. Well, Google search engine traffic is a little bit special because you are getting people at a very specific point in their decision-making cycle. Namely, they're looking for a solution. By the way, I'm just seeing a note here. Your network connection has been re-established. Have you actually, did I drop out over the last couple of minutes? Can you still not hear me? Oh, that'd be extra annoying. Shit. Oh, swearing again. Okay, can anyone hear me? No. Very annoying. Okay, that's a bit rubbish. Okay, connection lost. Please check your network connection. Extra annoying. Yes, it is. So, no internet access. I will just continue talking then until the connection comes back, which hopefully is very, very soon. So a good PMS is compatible with one traffic source, meaning you optimize, for example, Google PPC or Facebook traffic or whatever. A great PMS is compatible with multiple traffic sources. So if one traffic source goes away, for example, Google PPC is getting too expensive, or alrighty, did the sound go? Can't hear you. Did audio go out? Indeed, it went out. I have no idea. My connection here was lost. I don't know where it happened. Can you hear me now? Or did you type these messages a little while ago and they just came in here? Can you quickly tell me if you can hear me right now? No, this is not good. I'll just continue talking now, because then I'll send out the recording and we'll go from there. So, great PMS is compatible with multiple traffic sources, simply because one goes away and then you can plug in another traffic source. That means, in general, they are tested much better, and they're usually a little bit more complicated than a simple one. You may quickly find out that with, for example, PPV, you've got a particular type of ad that really works with that particular type of audience, but then it's very, very hard to plug it into another traffic source. And then an awesome PMS is basically where you've got a great PMS, where you've got passive income. This has all to do with doing what we all know we should be doing, namely focusing on the 80-20 principle. So we focus on the 20% of those clients, focus all our main energy on the 20% of clients who give us 80% of our revenue or business growth or whatever you're aiming for. And the other ones we kind of put into passive income streams where, we don't have to focus so much on them. Andy, I don't know if you can hear me right now. So yes, my internet connection may be on and off. I have no idea. So what I'm going to do is I'll just continue talking. The recording did continue. You basically missed this middle part. I don't know when it went. So basically what I said was there are 4 levels. Not a good PMS is where you do one-off promos and you have limited capacity. A good PMS is where you have something that is compatible with one traffic source, but you can't plug it into another traffic source. An example would be a great ad that goes from PPV traffic to a CPA offer. A great PMS is more complicated than a good PMS because it's something that is compatible with multiple traffic sources. So you can then, once one traffic source goes away, it's too expensive, whatever, but you're still kind of solving the main problem. You can then find another traffic source which has the same target audience with the same problem and plug it in there. And an awesome PMS is where you've got a great PMS that has passive income. So big picture is you're now doing segmentation. You're putting the 20% of those clients who give you the biggest benefit, let's call it benefit, into special sequences, and you focus more on there and have passive income from automated follow-up emailing, for example, or SMS or whatever you're doing with the rest of them. Alrighty. In general, a profitable marketing system does not have to be focused on just dollar out greater than dollar in, because that might throw us back to the good old, I'm confused about all the options I have. Okay? In order to build an awesome PMS, there's a lot of stuff involved. To build a great PMS, well, there are a few steps involved, because typically you can't have a one-step offer. You can't have one ad that resonates with the same target audience across different traffic sources. It's very, very difficult. So you want to, in order to get to somewhere between a good and a great PMS, you need to do a few steps. And in order to make it simpler, we can now focus rather than on purely the making money with the good old PayPal example. They take out money, you put money in. We can focus on, for example, just list building. So rather than purely aiming immediately for the big profit, a profitable marketing system, and that's why the focus is on marketing, not selling, but marketing system. A profitable marketing system might be where you simply aim to build a list whilst making it profitable, or at least breaking even. So this is not your main revenue type thing, but it is building a long-term asset, namely a list in this kind of thing. Another one would be where you, for example, create your avatar. You simply do market research, part of your marketing system, but you do it in a profitable way, or at least in a non-loss-making way. So you do it in a way where you at least break even, so the traffic pays for itself. The next one is, another example is social media. You may want to go out and build a target audience where, on social media, and you want to do it in a way that it pays for itself. So these are examples of marketing systems, as opposed to purely selling systems, that are ultimately profitable. Now, I do apologize. The internet connection is just cutting in and cutting out. I will just continue talking now and ignore that. I'm really sorry. But if I stop every single time, it will be complete and utter mess. And then what I'll do is I'll upload the recording and I'll send it out to you. Okay. So, looking at this general PMS model, let's look at a funnel. Basically, you need to have 5 things in place. You need to have a lead magnet. Now, Sue was earlier saying, well, I want to reach more offline businesses. What is a lead magnet? Well, look at, for example, an offline business. A lead magnet might be anything that gets people into the store. That could be an offer, a 2-for-1 offer, a freebie, something you give away, anything. So Sue, if you want to go out and reach a target audience, namely local businesses, figure out what is a lead magnet they would be interested in. And once you've got that in place, you can get them in. Now, ideally, that is something where you don't invest too much money. But if you're now saying, right, I'm really going after some high-end clients. Instead of going after the small businesses, I'm going for the medium-sized enterprises. You may want to invest a little bit in the actual lead magnet. Then you've got a relationship builder. By relationship builder, and another term I've used or I've seen used before is getting people onto and up the ladder of intimacy. Right? If you've got a service or a product that costs a lot of money, thousands and thousands, then initially people want to figure out if you can deliver, or whether you are actually one of those scam artists on the internet who just sells you some stuff and then disappears. I mean, this particular guy I bought this thing in Germany from, he went out and then in the fine print it was, there are no refunds. I could not believe it. It's just like, there are no refunds. Awesome, cool. So a relationship builder is basically an initial small product, something where they can invest a little bit of money and have a great experience. Not a good experience, but a great experience. And generally, these things are built around, they're designed, they're constructed in such a way that they create a wonderful experience for your first-time clients, if you like. Then you get to the core offering. This is the big thing. Big takeaway here, and Norma, we have talked about this for a long time now. You need to have a core offering. If you're a service provider, so Sue, pay attention now. If you're a service provider in the offline world, you must not provide a service like everybody else, because the moment you do that, you can be compared with everybody else. And then people go, well, if I can compare to everything else, I want the lowest price. And you've already lost. So your core offering is a little bit more complicated than this. You have to basically package it up in a way that you cannot be compared to anyone else. But effectively, all you're doing is you're creating a lead magnet, you're building the relationship with initial, like, okay, this transaction went well, now I can move them on, and then you go to the core offering where you make most of the money. Now, if you look at the previous slides, the profitable marketing systems, the idea is to basically break even or not lose too much money on the first 2 steps. So the relationship builder serves 2 purposes. Actually 3 purposes. The first one is get people onto that ladder of intimacy. The second one is to break even, or make it not lose too much money on your lead generation. So what you now basically have the right prospects that are coming in, build your business for you. And by business, of course, if you go back to the previous slide, that is not just making money, but is looking at things like list building, doing market research, doing social media, whatever it is you want to do. And then the third one is, of course, to attract the right type of clients and reject the wrong type of clients. So the core offering is then where you make the money. And this is something, by the way, Sue, you can teach and provide as a service to offline businesses, because that's something most businesses completely fail with. Then you build a back end, and the back end is, once again, if the simplest thing we've done with offline businesses, and I'm just using offline business because Sue was the first one to raise her hand and say something. We've done work with newspapers, and the one thing we then wanted to see from everyone was the sales personnel in a store make a simple upsell. Just have you considered doing or buying this? Or would you like this with your thing you just bought? And most businesses have no idea, and they then fall in two categories. They either go, "Oh, that's a really good idea," or they go, "Oh no, I couldn't possibly do it." And if I couldn't possibly do it, well, fine, go away. So backend is where you can really then continue building the value. And finally, you do the follow-up. And follow-up is what I said earlier. Over here is an awesome PMS. Okay, that's what differentiates an awesome PMS from a great PMS. Namely, you now go in and in the follow-up, do the segmentation. You figure out where are the ones where you get the most leverage. Where are the clients who truly provide massive value to you because they take whatever you give them, they take action, they have their problem solved, they're now so enthusiastic, they refer other people, all those good things. That's where the real magic happens. Anyway, let me have a quick look at the next couple of questions here that are in there. Yes. Okay, I got a question for you, Fight. I'm a business improvement development consultant working for big corporates. My objective, improve my profitability by doing info products, i.e. solving problems. Trouble is, I don't want my offline clients finding about my side biz in info marketing. What would you recommend? Use a pen name? Right, let me see if I get this right. You're consulting, working for big corporates. Andy, all right, you work for big corporates and you now want to do info products outside the big corporate world. You want to go and do that for someone else, for other clients, or why do you see that? Okay, I got it for you. Right. So yes, absolutely, use a pen name. Yeah, you don't want to mix things, especially if they're at very different price points. If you're doing one type of work and you're charging the big corporation big bucks, and then you go and do the same work for smaller businesses and you charge a whole lot less, that might come across a little bit strange. Unless, of course, what you do is you go in and you charge a base fee and then a commission, if you like, on the size of the transaction. So if I create X million dollars in extra revenue for you, I will get 15%, boom. And that way, you can say, look, for the small business, they're not doing the millions. Okay, you charge IBM 5 to 10K for a job, then you charge for an info product $297. Well, what you could do is that you look at the core offering, that the core offering you're doing for IBM is not the info product. The core offering is basically the combination of your info product and your done with and for you and the special process which you don't get in the info product. And that way you can easily get away with that and say, look, I'm also doing this info product thing here. And what you'll find in practice is the businesses that are serious about building their business, growing their business, they have the attitude that anything they can outsource, anything they don't have to do themselves, they may want to understand how it works, but anything they can have someone else do it at a positive ROI, of course, is they'll do it. So, that way you can separate those two. Because IBM, the other thing with IBM, of course, it depends whom you're pitching to, but I reckon if you're doing the 5 to 10K for a job level, then you're probably talking to, middle management somewhere. And they, of course, have to impress the upper management, or, it depends how many layers are above them. And that way, they couldn't possibly go out and buy a $297 product. And if you basically play to that card and say, look, here's something that is not only going to solve your problem, but also impress the socks of your boss, which is something that the 297 product doesn't do. That way you can separate those two. Cool. Right, back to the funnel model. Here, the beauty of this, the reason I've laid it out the way it is here is because you can now apply the fantastic 15% rule. And the 15% rule basically says, rather than And this brings us back around the circle to the beginning of this presentation. The big problem is stuff you are looking at doesn't work. Okay, people tell you, well, go and do Pinterest, and you like start spamming Pinterest like mad, and you're still not making money. And then people tell you, well, you know, you've already spammed the heck out of Pinterest, spam some more, and here's an automated tool for spamming it even more. But now you also need to spam Facebook, and you go, right, more of what not doesn't work. Let's spam some more, and you're still not making money. And so, in order to now double what you're doing, like if you're not doing anything, that's really easy because double of 0 is 0. But let's say you're making something, because you know about 50% online people who are online, they make something. You know, some great, but most people not great, and then 50% don't do anything. But if you're in the 50% who make something, you now want to kind of double it. You now could basically double the what isn't working, or you could double the amount of traffic, or another thing you could do is, of course, double the price of your product and see if you get away with it. And the interesting thing is most people never test this. And as strange as it sounds, that sometimes is the ticket to actually making money. I'll give you an example. The other day, we were kind of in a little mastermind group sitting together and talking about Facebook traffic. And I'd personally tried a number of sort of, you know, $7 to $17, well, up to $27 products. And I couldn't quite, with one particular approach, couldn't quite make it work. You know, kind of breaking even, but not making a profit. And one other guy goes, well, you know, I tried that too, and all I did was increase my price to $197, and suddenly he was making money. So he invested $200 in Facebook advertising and made $1,030 or something. Beautiful, right? So sometimes you just have to go out and do that. But back to the funnel model. In order to double your business, you can basically double the traffic or double the price, or you could, you know, hope that you can somehow double the number of people who click on your ad, or double the number of people who buy, you know, double the effectiveness of your copy. And of course, if you're rubbish at writing copy and you hire Norma, then that's easy. But in general, it is much easier to improve 5 different points by 15%. So if you've got a lead magnet and you increase the attractiveness of that lead magnet by just 15%. So, and just to clarify what that means, so say you've got a lead magnet and 10% of all visitors sign up to your lead magnet. Increasing it by 15% means you go from 10% to 11.5%. That's all. You just need to make it ever so slightly tastier, and 15% more people will now opt in. Now, in your offer for the relationship builder, you know, whatever you're offering that, you need to improve the profit you're making or the number of people who are buying it by 15%. Well, one thing you could try is just increasing the price by 15%, 30%, see what happens. But also you could, you know, get Norma in and she'll fiddle with your copy and you easily get a 15% increase, and so on. And the reason I've got these 5 steps here is because if you do that 5 times in a row, it's a compounding effect, because 15% more people opting into your lead magnet, 15% more buying your relationship builder offering means, you know, already getting 15 times 15% more to your core offering. You're making more and more and more. So at the end of the day, you've doubled your business simply by doing small, tiny tweaks across a sales funnel. And that brings us back to, you know, go back a slide now, the profitable marketing systems. It's not actually as difficult as it may sound. You just need to find a little thing, and this is where I recommend you start with a basis, a one thing. Personal experience, frustrating, you know, it is so frustrating because I spent years not doing it. And what I should have done right from the beginning is start with one product, a basis of one thing, and say, this is the one thing I'm going to work with. And I don't care what it is, whether it's a site where I'm going to, you know, do CPA, or whether I'm going to do AdSense or whatever. I'm just going to do this one thing. And once I've proven that it works, and, you know, you go through a little process to figure out if it has legs or not. If in the beginning no one responds whatsoever, it probably isn't so good. But if you got some response from the market, you go, right, this is a good starting point. Now I continue working with this. And that is where the whole power of one model comes in. You need to focus relentlessly on just one thing. So what you could do is start with just a lead magnet and see if that resonates with the market. And once you've figured out, yes, it kind of does resonate, and you make a little, you know, a one-time offer at the end, cool. Over time, you will when I say over time, with modern traffic things like Facebook, you very quickly, within like a week or 2 weeks, you get to the point where this thing breaks even and actually makes money. And then you add the next stage. Now you make a next offer, and you basically what you could do is after the lead magnet, ask them, hey, what is it you want? What's his name? Joey Zotto did a simple product, whatever. It was a video product, sold a couple of thousand copies with the help of JVs, which was cool. So he went out and found the JVs. But then he basically, that was a lead magnet because he gave most of the money to the JVs. But then he went to his list and said, hey, what is it you'd like me to teach you? And they said, we all want to know about creating products. And he sold several $10,000 worth of high-end course, $2,000 on how to create products. There you go. So start with a basis, whichever ones you have. If you have a core offering, cool. Start with the core offering. Norma, I know you have a core offering. Start with that. Andy, you have a core offering. Start with that and start thinking which one could I put around that. A relationship builder, work on my back end, create a little lead magnet. What can I do? Where can I, based on this one foundation, build this thing out? Who else? Sue. I want to go and get some clients. How do I approach them? Well, start the first thing. Build a lead magnet. Figure out for the niche you're using, this is the lead magnet that is probably going to resonate with them. And don't worry about any of the other stuff. So, the most important thing is, and that kind of brings us back round full circle to the beginning, you kind of need to experience this. I had to experience this. I had, before you truly see it in front of your own eyes, it is a conceptual thing. You don't quite get it. All these should things. We should be building a list. We should be, building sales funnels, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really make sense until you get it. And, Jillian says, I need to have a big win. Well, define what that big win is, and then work towards getting the experience of getting that win, whatever that win is. For me, the first affiliate sale, over $600, that was an experience. And I went, okay, the stuff actually works. It's not just people saying it, because after my first experience with that German fellow who sold me stuff I could have gotten on eBay for $6 or £6, €6, I was kind of thinking, well, does it really work? No, it turns out it does work. All right. First big list building experience was, well, I had now had a shared list because it was part of a joint launch, which incidentally was a really bad profitable marketing system. Launches are really, really bad. If you can't stay away from them. Then I had my own product and I experienced that people liked it. Well, that was pretty awesome. Then I had my first refunds. How dare they? It's just like, forget about this. You need to experience this. You cannot conceptually understand the rejection you feel when someone goes, I want a refund, and you go, hang on, I've put my heart into this. I really made an effort to deliver something world-class here, and they're asking for a refund. It now makes conceptually sense to you, but it's a totally different story when you have your first refund thing. The other thing is, I didn't write this down here, the idea that you have to appeal to everyone. But turns out it is the opposite. You have to work as hard as you can to reject as many people as possible so you can focus on those who are a good fit, which brings you, of course, then to the next thing. It's like, who is a good fit? Do I have to, can I be myself? Do I need to be different? Do I need to change? Well, in general, I don't actually swear that much unless, I drop something on my foot, or yesterday I tripped over my foot, and really it's quite nice and small. Unfortunately, nothing torn, I don't think. But that's why I occasionally swear. But in general, I don't. Now, back when Frank Kern was, at his best doing the internet marketing MMO type thing with mass control and that kind of thing, he was the guy who was swearing on stage and walking around barefoot, and everyone, suddenly everyone's going and emulating Frank Kern and swearing and blah, 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 blah. And, no, you don't need to do that. Anyway, these are all things you need to experience. Until you've experienced this firsthand in front of your own eyes, it's a concept in your brain, and you won't move forward. So, passive income. You have to experience this. You have to, there's things of logging into your ClickBank and going, oh, that's interesting. It still works, even when you're not there. SEO. Once again, you have to experience this. It's awesome when you get traffic, but SEO only makes sense when it makes you money. And the one thing I can highly recommend, and this was my experience, okay? My experience with SEOs was I went out and did SEO for launches, basically launch jacking. Hey, buy this product through my link. And yeah, I made some money, but then the launch is over and you've just wasted all your SEO efforts. Wow, I was stupid. So I did some SEO for a product launch formula related term. And that all went out the window when Jeff Walker banned me as an affiliate. Okay, cool. So that's out of the window. And then I did SEO with the objective of building lists, and it was all bloody tedious. It all changed, or it'll change for you when you start with a product. And once again, I want to re-emphasize: product doesn't have to be a physical or a virtual thing you sell or you have created. It could be someone else's, but the big risk with someone else's product is, of course, they'll take it off the market. So it's something ideally where you have a little bit of control over it. And then once you've proven that this works, that you actually have a profitable marketing system where you get traffic in, and at the end you get more money out, then at the end, using SEO as the icing on the cake, that is awesome. But don't go in and go, because I can't afford traffic, now I'm going to use SEO. Not being able to afford traffic is basically something that does not work. Basically, your marketing system does not work. And then using SEO is using more traffic on something that's already not working. Please do not do that. Start with the other end. Big takeaway here is this entire presentation is basically centered around this one core concept. Forget about overwhelm, forget about choices you need to make, forget about asking yourself what is the best thing to go after. There is no best thing. You pick whatever you like. You pick whatever you feel passionate about. You pick what already works, ideally. Don't worry about competition. This whole untapped niches, low-hanging fruit, undiscovered golden this, that, or the other, forget about that. Two things can happen. Either it's really undiscovered, and therefore the moment you discover it, other people are going to discover it as well, and it's going to be flooded, and once again, everyone is doing the same thing, and because it doesn't work, you do more of the same, and it doesn't work. That's one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is that basically it's undiscovered because no one can make money in it. You're much better off going after something where you can make money, and that the best way to do it is basically look out what's already working, what are people buying. To give you an example, this today, you may be aware we had national elections here in Germany, and they're basically the two big parties, the CDU and the SPD. In the US, it would be the Republicans versus the Democrats. In the UK, it would be Conservatives versus versus Labour. Okay, so Labour or the Democrats or SPD, they lost big time, and they went into this bizarre way of now acting, and they're saying what we had in our campaign and our promises was clearly is superior. People just didn't realize or recognize the value of what we have. And that is what a lot of people do. It's like, what I have is superior, and the target audience or the market clearly didn't recognize the value I have here. Forget about that. Start with something that works. Start with something that already sells. Start with something where you know there is demand, and then work up from there. Alrighty. So, there you go. The power of one, too long neglected. Yes, that is my personal experience. Okay, the power of one. I neglected this whole thing I've just talked about you. That I me personally, I should focus on one product and build on that and make the traffic work. And make the traffic work is basically building profitable marketing systems. That took me far too long. And I could kick myself now. Why didn't I do this 8 years ago? Well, because no one told me. That's why. Alrighty, with this, we can jump over to questions, if you've got any questions. But before we do, I want to tell you something. I've just basically done this. I've condensed all my marketing experience of the last 8 years into one big thing. And it's over at experience.im. I am so proud of that, having found that domain name, experience.im. This is all about truly experiencing. And what we're doing there is we are doing real case studies. All the stuff I've just told you, for example, building a sales funnel where you have Facebook taking money out of PayPal on one end, and before they take it out, the sales funnel, the mini profitable marketing system, has made more money than they're going to take out. And the big thing is, it's not just case studies, okay? I personally hate case studies because they leave out all the stuff that's at the beginning, all the decisions that went into creating this thing, because everyone who does case studies out there sets them up with the objective of showing off how incredibly great they are. I've seen all these offers where they go, hey, you know, I can guarantee you we're going to have 3,000 visitors to our website, and if not, you can ask for our money back. Well, it's easy. It's super easy to get 3,000 visitors to my website. What's not easy is getting 3,000 visitors to my website who are so targeted that they're going to buy my stuff in the sense of being profitable. And that's what experience.im is all aimed at, okay? What we're doing there is we are building profitable marketing systems. And like I said earlier, it's not purely aiming at the money. It's doing the very steps I've shown you. How to create a real lead magnet, how to build a list, how to really do it in the sense of that whilst you're building the list, it's profitable, or at least breaks even, so it's paid for. All those kind of things. So it's the real experience. You're seeing me do the stuff. You can have input. You can ask questions. You'll see all the decisions that go into it, the planning stages, the implementation, the execution, all the failures. You will see all the failures. So that's all in there. And what I've got here is basically I'm going to give you a discount. There's a discount code here. It's C2C, and I was going to say it's valid for the next 24 hours. I'm going to have to extend this because of the incredible mess with my internet connection. I cannot believe it. I mean, that was atrocious. I'm going to have words with my telephone company because this is happening far too often. So I'm going to extend that probably to 48 hours or so because quite a few people had to leave now or left because I was out for like 10 minutes. Alrighty. So if you want to go over there for the next 48, let's make it 48 hours, okay? And we do that right here. 48 hours. You'll get that discount. It's basically 20% off. There you go. And you will be grandfathered in for life at that discount if you grab it in the next 48 hours. After 48 hours, it goes away. Alrighty. Questions. What questions do you have? Any questions? Here goes my 20 minutes, turned into an hour. I do apologize. No, I don't blame. There's no point blaming. It is what it is. It's unfortunate that the connection went down, but there you go. So, what questions do you have around all of this? Stunned silence. No questions whatsoever. Okay. So, let me go back to Jillian. Jillian, are you still on the call? I need to quickly see if Jillian is here because quite a few people fell off. Jillian, yes you are. I believe. Can't be sure. So Jillian, yes, question mark. When you look at your prior confusion, can you see how you get closer to something that will provide a path where you get that big win? And what would it be? Which direction would you aim at? What would be the one thing where you go, yeah, that's something I've always wanted to try, but I kind of at the back of my head had, not sure if it's going to work. Is it possible to get the big win? What would be that direction? Whilst Jillian is thinking, not figured yet. Okay, Jillian, have a quick think. What are the things you've tried And which ones are where you go, well, I've been promised this is going to work, but really I've tried it and dang, not so sure now. Whilst you're thinking about that, and please type it in, Sue, looking at approaching offline clients. Think about it. If approaching is the first thing, you basically need to have, you need to have a couple of things. When we look back here, no, that's right. You of course need to have a core offering. You need to have something. Sue, do you have a core offering? What is it? What's the thing you're offering or want to offer? Deal site marketing. And whom are you? What do you think is your ideal target audience? Who would benefit most from doing their stuff on deal sites? Okay, either those who have already run offers or similar businesses. Now, those who've already run businesses, run offers, the question is, you can split that down into those who've run them successfully and those who haven't. Okay, that's the first thing. So now you can target them individually with a lead magnet. One is aimed at people who've done it successfully and those who haven't. Jillian, affiliate, Amazon, SEO, PLR, video all make a little but not enough to focus on. Exactly. Jillian, you are the archetypical person who needs to go from confusion to clarity. You're doing exactly what I was talking about. You're doing, look, this shit isn't working, and God damn, my language is falling apart here. Right? The stuff isn't working, so you're doing more of it. You're doing some affiliate marketing, some Amazon, some SEO, some PLR, some video, and none of them are making enough. And as a result, your brain goes, hang on, this stuff isn't working, so anything that promises that by just doubling my my social media exposure, by doubling my traffic exposure, by whatever, any of this stuff, basically you're in a position where you're doing more of what's already not working, and you would so benefit from basically taking any one of them, the one where you either have the biggest track record and you go, but that it seems to work, but I just haven't managed to, I kind of hit the wall and I need to get through that wall and aim at scale it up, or something where you're passionate about it, where you really like it. It also depends on your goals, of course. For example, Amazon. Amazon is, in my opinion, not ideal in the sense that you're not capturing any email addresses. You're not. You also will generally find it very hard to do follow-up business, in the sense of, someone who, even if you were to capture an email address for someone who buys a coffee machine, well, now what do you sell them? That's my personal opinion. Amazon works beautifully. Amazon is one of those things where you have to be insanely focused on optimization and making your offers work. And you can, absolutely, but you really have to be on the ball, especially when you're driving paid traffic. Google is one of the biggest affiliates for Amazon. They drive a ton of traffic, but, well, they don't have to pay for it. But if you were to drive paid traffic to Amazon offers, then you have to be totally on the ball and make sure that one thing works, because you have one conversion step. You don't have multiple conversion steps. Now, if you're now talking about SEO, that is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Your Amazon funnel is so badly optimized. It's not a profitable marketing system. It's so badly optimized that you're thinking, well, the only way I'm going to make it work is by doing SEO. Now, you have no idea. Well, you have a fair idea if people look exactly for that one search phrase, whatever, the Dell 2450, blah, 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 then, okay, they might work. But in general, SEO is it's almost a losing proposition if you're starting with a badly optimized or not optimized at all sales or marketing funnel. So you're much better off looking at whatever it is you're doing, affiliate. Take one offer. Take one offer where you think kind of that there is a little bit of track record and enough of other people are really succeeding with it, and it's not a flash in the pan, so I can really focus on this, and my efforts go into this, and I will still be there, and they will still be there tomorrow, and if necessary, I can replace the offer. So you build a list that is interested in whatever, in collecting teacups, right? And you've got that one teacup supplier. And if they go out of business or no longer offer their affiliate program, well, there's another teacup supplier. Or you could even then start importing your own. But you get the idea, okay? So don't be dependent on one. With Amazon, you're dependent on that one company, and we've seen before in some states they just closed down the affiliate program, and now you're stuffed. Now all your effort, all your SEO. So basically, Amazon is, if you look at the PMS thing here, it's between not a PMS and it's a good PMS. It's compatible with one traffic source, but if Amazon decides to screw you, you're done. But in general, what you've got at the moment appears to be not a PMS. It's basically random. It's not optimized at all, and a little bit of traffic goes through it. You make a little bit of money. Not awesome at all. All right, let's look at what else we've got here. Andy, I'm kind of surprised I don't have any questions, but it's totally clear. I know about experience it since I've made lots of sales from affiliate marketing in other niches. Awesome, Andy. In other niches, it is so much nicer to, literally, it is nicer to sell in non-hypey niches. IM is extremely overhyped. Weight loss is overhyped. But in other niches, you actually have people who are grateful for getting your stuff. I was talking to Walter the other day, and he summed it up so nicely. He said, I want to be in a place where I sell a $27 product, and whoever buys it, they feel they get so much value out of it that it's really worth $100 for them, and they feel they've got a complete bargain at $27. And that's why I totally, other niches are so much nicer. I really enjoyed this webinar, Fight. Thank you. Although I was interrupted by my kids every 10 minutes. Well, I took mine off to bed earlier, but then we were interrupted by my telephone company. Yay. Sue, who benefits? No upfront cost to the business. Okay. In general, Sue, that's too broad. You're talking about everyone who has a business. If there are no upfront costs to them, that's every single business under the planet, under the sun. You need to be more specific. You need to figure out who specifically benefits and why they benefit from your experience, as opposed to from someone else who come in. For example, why should they come to you as opposed to what they call the rip-off people, the Groupon people? They come in and hit them with offers. All right, that's from an earlier question. So it appears my audio had gone off again. Oh, great. Alrighty. Yeah, exactly. Who benefits? No upfront costs to the business. Exactly. That was from the earlier conversation. Who benefits from your core offering? Alrighty. Any final questions? Audio back again. Was I out for everyone or just Andy? Alrighty, what I'm going to do now is basically render the recording, upload it to YouTube, and then send it out. So if you're interested in joining me, it's no risk at all. If you don't like it, cool, you just let me know. Experience.im/C2C, and the discount code you need to put into the field is C2C, and then that's valid for the next 48 hours instead of 24 because of the audio. What would you say has been my biggest mistake in IM? Well, here's the thing. Let me put it this way. There is no point, in my opinion, dwelling on mistakes. Everything I didn't do, in a way, is a mistake. So not building a list right from the beginning was a mistake. Not focusing on one core product and building it out and really relying on the launch model for far too long was a big mistake. But there's no point going on about it because it is what it is. I didn't do it. I can't travel back in time. I'll write down my mistakes so in case anyone invents time travel, I can go back, warn myself and say, go and do it. But in general, I can give you a top list of big mistakes, and it's only in the sense of wanting to pass it on, but you kind of need to experience it, and then you suddenly go slap, slap, slap. Why didn't I do this earlier? Why didn't I believe Fight or anyone else who did it? Number one, not building a list. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Number two, collecting testimonials. I mean, anytime you have a chance to collect testimonials, do reach out. Hey, by the way, if you enjoyed this and you got something out of it, please send me a testimonial. Right after this, sit down, a couple of minutes, write down what you got out of it, why you think it's important, and send it over to me. I'd really appreciate that, okay? Big mistake. If you're not collecting testimonials, that is like, it makes your selling so much harder. Other big mistakes, list, testimonials, perfectionism in the beginning. Actually, two things. The one thing when I got started was the biggest one was this. Everything I've shown you today, not sitting down and building profitable marketing systems, and the end result of all of that was basically I was jumping from thing to thing, and I had that. I don't know how to describe this, and I wish I could record emotions. It was awful. At the end of the day, sitting there going, once again, I haven't achieved anything. So that was a consequence of not building profitable marketing systems. And out of that comes the focus on one thing at the exclusion of everything else. I'm saying that, and I think it's very important, because a lot of people who get into internet marketing are, in general, creative. They like the idea of freedom, independence. They want to try out ideas. They want to fiddle with stuff. And as a result, they look at concepts and go, I intellectually get it, and now let me improve it. Or they go, well, that can't possibly work. I need to do it this way. Instead of just going out and saying, here's the one thing, let me do it. And if I try it 10 times and it still doesn't work, then I say, now it's time to modify it to my own standards or do my own thing. Because everyone I see who is like super, super successful does stupid, simple stuff. Without exception. Seriously, everyone I know is just like, they go stuff where I still to this day go, I cannot believe they're doing something so incredibly simple and they're making all that money with it. So those, I would say, would be the top ones. List building, not collecting testimonials, focusing on one thing, and with the objective of building profitable marketing systems. List, something where you have an asset, one thing you could focus all your effort on, and you very, very quickly have a basis on which you can improve. Because the worst thing you can do is basically develop something to a point where it kind of works or almost works, and you go, well, that doesn't work, and now I'll go and do something else. The biggest secret of what we're doing here is direct response, or in direct response marketing, is to test and optimize, because you will never know what is going to work. And if you focus on 10 different things, you're never going to get any of them to the point where they're truly profitable and up and running. So I guess as a last mistake, I would then add the whole paid traffic. When I look at the number of products I have bought, including product launch formula, I've also bought mass control, I've bought all kinds of these big ticket things. If I had taken all that money and invested that in year one in how to use paid traffic around a profitable marketing system, I'd be a gazillionaire by now. Alrighty. Can you show us quick what's in the members area? Yes, sure I can. Jillian, husband actually enjoyed the bit he heard so much he wants to listen to the replay. Cool. So, Patrick, in a minute I'll show you the members area. Yes, I tried to get, Andy, I tried to get into 4 to 5 niches at a time and completely screw things up. I always do one and then another, and only then did I start making money. Yes, it is counterintuitive, because like you see with Jillian, focusing on all these different things, it is so frustrating, and because nothing is working, you are now trying to do more, which is what the market tells you, and intuitively you just want to try different places and try more traffic and try more of the same, and it just doesn't work. More of the same is an example of this sort of building empires. Okay, if I've got one that barely makes $10 a day, now if I build 100 sites, The problem is if you've got one site that barely makes $10, it is because you didn't optimize it. And now spreading your time and energy and focus across 100 sites is not going to get you anywhere. All right, this is going to be interesting. Okay, I need to, in order to show you what's in the members area, I need to somehow tell the recording thing here to change over to, actually, can you see what can you see now? The PowerPoint. Okay, let me see if I can you see my Firefox now? Not yet? Okay, give it a few more seconds because I have just told it to show you the Firefox. The Fox. Still not? Oh, that's not good. No. I have a feeling that it's not possible. Hang on. Okay, here's what happened. I just tell you what happened. Okay, you can clearly hear me because I'm... Okay, let me go back to the PowerPoint and see what happens. So now I'm back at the PowerPoint. I've got a feeling what happens is that because I started the recording here with the PowerPoint, the moment I switch over to Firefox, go to webinar basically goes into some bizarre mode where it doesn't play anymore. It just basically goes on pause. So I'll do it one more time, go over here, and I'll try to press the play button. Go away. Now, how about that? Does that work? Yes, alrighty. It was because my screen... God, go away. Move this window from a shared application. Go away. It is... it's driving me nuts. Okay, give me 1 second. I can't... What's happening is the... Hey. Something is on top of my shared thing. Basically, go to webinar. Doesn't like it when the window you're recording is overlapping something else. Is being overlapped by something else. So now you should be able to see it, okay? Alrighty, this is the members area. We've got the core thing is this here. It's the monthly case studies and the monthly coaching calls. So at the moment there's a call from September in there. So what you get in there is, oh, you don't have access. Oh, clearly I'm logged in. I logged out. Log out. I know. Okay, sorry. There's a test here. DAP. This is a story for another time, honestly. So there's a recording of the September call. Cool. I go in here. The month, basically two things. The case study. This month, the monthly case study is what we're doing. The October case study, or next month, starting in October, is basically all about traffic. We're going to go into. So I've got a plan of attack. It's going to be a traffic source on Facebook. We're going to use ads and promoted posts. We're going to use an existing product as opposed to like developing a new product. So the idea of this particular case study is exactly what I said earlier. You've basically got Facebook taking traffic out of the account and you're getting the money in faster than Facebook can take it out there. So it's a self-liquidating offer, which is kind of the early parts of the sales funnel I showed you earlier. The lead gen piece and the first ladder of intimacy thing where you get people on and you pay for the traffic. So that is the big case study for October. So these are the two main things where you got interaction going. And then we've got this here, traffic of a product. So traffic is all about different types of traffic. Let me quickly show you what we've got in there. At the moment, we have got a traffic count foundation. That's a course I've created, and incidentally, this goes back to me not having done this, in the past, having a product which I then basically sell the heck out of it. I think that's a nice way of saying it. Whatever you're doing, you need to get to the point where you go, this kind of has enough legs that I can now spend all my energy on selling the heck out of it. And Traffic Foundation is one of them. Traffic Foundation basically is a product. It's a little bit over an hour, a training course. Here's a little side note. I did not realize that training in itself is not a noun in the sense this is a training. Okay, you can be in training, or you be something along those lines, but you can't do a training. And someone else on my list pointed this out the other day. Fine, that's incorrect English. So now it's totally on my mind every time I say, because in the internet marketing niche in particular, it's used in that way. Look, here's a training. Well, that's illegal according to the dictionary. So now I'm so aware of it every time I say, here's my training. No, it's not a training. It's a training course, for example. So anyway, this is a training course that shows you how most people get to traffic completely backwards and how you need to do it properly. And that is basically essential going through. And I'm going to be selling the heck out of this thing because a lot of people suffer with SEO and all this other stuff. Once you got this in place, you will look at traffic from such a different perspective. You'll never ever fall for cheap 1 cent clicks and PPV, and basically every time you see from going through this from then onward, every time you see cheap and traffic in the same sentence, you just go, yeah, thank you, go on your merry way. Foundation part number 2 is basically taking the traffic to the next level. That kind of is later on in the sales funnel. So if you look at the model I showed you earlier, where you then for example, have your core offering and you want to go further on back-end sales and taking it to the next level, that's this kind of stuff. It's all about the segmentation. SEO has various things in there. There's a couple of things, a case study and about 2 hours of not training, of a training material on how to do SEO properly. And it's mostly based on my personal experience, having done basically any sort of SEO. I've done the spammy stuff. I've done it successfully, and once you've gone through there, you'll quickly notice that, no, please, SEO is the thing you do at the very, very end. So that's all about traffic. I'll do the rest at a high level, okay? Offer, if we look in there, this is all about basically conversion, how to get offers in front of people so they want to buy it. And the one I've got at the moment here is a past product of mine which you can't buy anymore. Which is the kick-ass video sales letters, which is all about creating, guess what, kick-ass video sales letters. The funny one about this one here is that someone in a big corporation, and they shall remain unnamed, downloaded this from, not me, but from somewhere else. But they were so impressed by it that they reached out to me anyway and said, look, we are terribly sorry we found this on the internet, but it is so awesome. We're using it in everything we're doing. And that was from a major corporation, so very cool. You've got access to that. Then we have got products. This is all about creating product, and like I said earlier, product is not necessarily the one thing you sell. Product is so much more bigger. And the example I'm giving here is Jeff Johnson. Jeff Johnson creates all these high-end workshops so he can record them and give them away as bonuses for high-ticket products. And that way, he became a major, one of the biggest players in the internet marketing niche. A couple of things in here on how to create video products very nicely. And this is a past product of mine, which again, you can't get. How to use your expertise as a product, which is, something, for example, Andy or Sue are looking at, or Norma. Then, and by the way, in case you're now thinking, God, overwhelm, the one thing I say in the welcome video is basically you can ignore everything in here. There are 2 things you need to do. So the list goes on. There's stuff on social media, how to use social media for positioning, how to pre-frame people when they come into your buying funnel, Email marketing, that's actually mostly about my big course, the Graceful Email Marketing. Sales psychology, there's a ton of stuff in there, how to do it properly, how not to do it. Productivity, as you may know, one of my biggest products, or my first big products, was Bear Market Productivity, which I then release in different ways or different formats in different markets. So that's another one. There's lots of stuff on productivity, how to stay focused, how to get focused and stay focused. But really, when you come in, there are two things you need to go through. One is traffic, the traffic foundation, and the other one is make them buy. This is another course. I'm going to sell the heck out of it, and that is basically all my knowledge, my experience, first-hand experience of years and years of doing this online and in person, over the phone, real life. I've sold insurance, for example, how to get people to buy, and I kind of use that term "make them buy" in a well, not joking, but it's almost like in quotes "make them buy," because you can't make people buy unless you have a gun and you point it at them. However, of course, when you look at how the brain works, there are many triggers you can work with. I'm not saying exploit, but you can work with to get people to pay attention to what you've got and then move forward, almost like they're sliding down a slippery slide and go, yes, I want to know more. I give you permission to tell me more. I give you permission, and they engage with you. And that's all what Make Them Buy is about. It's 4 modules. It's a total of about 3 hours of content, plus case studies, plus all kinds of stuff. And that is basically what you need to go through, because everything we're doing in here, in the monthly coaching calls, in the case studies, we'll be using certain language. So what we've done today is basically look at, what is a self-liquidating offer? Well, if you don't know what a self-liquidating offer is, and I go into a monthly case study and say, look, what we're doing in month October is we're building a self-liquidating offer with the objective of basically building a list on Facebook. And you go, what's a self-liquidating offer? Well, okay, and that's why we've got this. But even, if you say, well, I'm not even interested in the case studies, this in itself is years and years of internet marketing experience distilled into about 3 hours, and that in itself will take everything you're doing to the next level. Combine that with traffic, and you will know and have direct access to everything I've experienced over the last 8 years. That'll take you beyond most of the people who just sit there and go, oh, I'm confused, and what should I do, and da. Because once you've got this Make Them Buy, and the traffic thing, you're in a position to answer questions like, what do I write in my email sequence? How do I even create an ad people respond to? What do I put on my squeeze page? How do I structure an offer? This whole copywriting thing. How do I put together a product? What do I ask in a survey? All that kind of stuff. That's all in here, and that in alone is in itself is going to take everything you're doing to the next level. Alrighty, so that's the demonstration of what's in there. But really, it's basically those cool things, and then you've got all kinds of my past products. You've got all kinds of videos I'm putting in there, and over time, I'll put more in there. It's basically, when we have a monthly case study on whatever offer creation, and there are some snippets we want to put out, we put them in the offer section. So you've got this vault of information, and whenever you want to come in. And the one thing I've done is I break it into, in the good old days, I just used to have, here's my 3-hour training call in one chunk, and people went, oh God, I've got kids coming in every 10 minutes. I can't pay attention for 3 hours, and then finding that particular point. So what I'm doing these days, I'm breaking it down. For example, if you look at this year, whatever, Make Them Buy, module number 3, we've got 1, 2, 3 sub-modules. So the first one is, the introduction is 153. This one here is 34 minutes. Pain or pleasure, yes. This one is 29 minutes. So they're around about, between 15 and 30 minutes, around about there. This one is, 20 minutes. There you go. So that's that one's on how to do storytelling in your marketing, in your email marketing, on your landing pages, etc. Cool. Alrighty. Any final questions? Nope. Okay, I'm going to count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, so if you want to go to experience.im, C2C, confusion to clarity, what you're going to see there is, hopefully, something like this. Oh, look, that's me. And there is the coupon code. Enter C2C in there, not C2CX, and add to cart. And there you go. And you'll be grandfathered in forever. Alrighty. Last chance for last question. I should be doing this on a Hangout, Jillian. Yeah, the problem with Hangouts is the conversations. There's such a big delay. Unless you've got only 10 people on there, whatever, it's 12. You know, if you've got more people on there, the conversations are a complete nightmare. Then again, I do have to admit, today wasn't exactly great with you know, the internet going down. Alrighty, cool. Final question, 3, 2, 1. Well, thank you for attending, and I do hope you got something out of it. And please, I would really appreciate it if you could spend a couple of minutes and write me a testimonial. If there's something where you went, wow, this now it makes sense, or you know, I'm going to change this. This is before, this is after. I really appreciate it. Alright, cool. Thank you.